And 3, 2, 1.
Back to you, Will.
All right, so let's ask a question, right? What if you could tokenize everyday real assets, like anything from like a high rise to like a uh, farm to a car dealership to anything else that you want to invest in, right? Any type of investment, you can tokenize it. And what would be the point of that is what we're going to be going into today. A lot of us are hearing a lot of great things about tokenization. And so this is a great time to start talking about that on our our podcast today to return. So Asia, how do you feel about tokenization?
So I love tokenization. You'll probably learn about me. I am not a fan of old, slow systems, and especially when we're talking about real estate, I feel like that's one of the oldest, slowest ones. Why does it take us 30 to 45 days to purchase a property with all this technology around? The attorney has to fax the paper to the lender. The lender has to, snail mail the wet signature over to that guy. It's just really one of the industries that I feel like can use an overhaul. So tokenization, which is essentially using the blockchain to put a real world asset on it so that you can own pieces of it. And so say for right now, if you wanted to own a part of a building, how do you do that? You sign a contract agreement with all the other people who own it, and you take this paperwork and the attorney files it with the court. So that's how you own a piece of it now. But what if you wanted to sell your share of that building? How do you do that? Well, right now it's not so easy to do, but if you were to tokenize it or use the blockchain to prove your share of ownership, then it's much easier to share that.
Right.
And so generally speaking, I love it. And that's one of the reasons why.
Yeah. I think to your point, tokenization is going to be a game changer for a lot of reasons. I want to share an article that was put up the other day. I think it really emphasizes what's happening right now and why this is such a huge, big deal and why we're talking about it. So it says CNBC, tokenization of real world assets is unstoppable. Freight train coming to major markets, according to Robinhood CEO. If you don't know who the Robinhood CEO is, Robinhood is one of those mobile platforms that allows you to trade stocks really easily. They got a lot of press back some time ago because they were the first ones, or one of the first ones, to make it so mobilely easy, accessible for people to be able to trade securities. And it opened up, democratized in a way, being able to do security trades. Robinhood says that they're going to be offering more than 200 tokenized U.S. stocks to customers in the European Union in June, giving them a new way to gain exposure to underlying assets, right? Tokenization is a freight chain. It can't be stopped. And eventually it's going to eat the entire financial system, right? Most think most major markets will have some framework in the next 5 years, he said. And though he's added that reaching 100% will take more than a decade, tokenized assets is a digital representation of real world assets like stocks, bonds, commodities that can be recorded and traded on a blockchain or distributed labor. So why is this important, right? People ask. Well, there's a few reasons, right? One reason is that this is going to allow, again, democratization of assets. A lot of times, unless you're a big investor or an investor with a pretty big paycheck, right, or what is called an accredited investor, you don't typically have access to these types of investments. And so what ends up happening is that you end up being on the outside. And as they say, the rich get richer, right? And the poor get poorer. Well, tokenization will allow you to have fractional ownership very easily of major projects. So you'll be driving down the street of a development one day and you'll be able to say, oh man, I own $100 of that development. and maybe you paid $5 to get it, right? But now the development has increased. Buyers are buying more often. It's more equitable, and so now people are like, oh yeah, I want more of that, right?
Yeah.
That's the importance of it.
You know, when you were describing that, this idea just came to me that was the first time I thought about it. The blockchain, or what we're saying, democratizing assets using the blockchain, is kind of like crowdfunding on steroids, because what crowdfunding allowed people to do is exactly like you said. Maybe I wouldn't have been able to invest in this, high-rise condo on my own because I'm not an accredited investor. I don't have the capital to do it by myself. But through crowdfunding, now I can join a pool of people and we can all own, this high-rise condo. So it democratized the asset in that way. But taking crowdfunding to the next level, the blockchain not only does allow that democratization where multiple people can come together and get in on it, but it also secures it in a way and makes it easier to facilitate that transaction. Because when we're talking about blockchain or cryptocurrency, I feel like a lot of people still think about it like it's this wild, wild west, like, oh, that's the blockchain crypto. I'm not sure what's going on over there. But if you pay attention, just like that article you read, and see the regulation that's coming around it and the need for it, especially with our financial industry. If we talked about real estate as an old industry that takes forever to do stuff, why does it still take 2 to 5 business days for me to send my money from my bank account to, my family's bank account, over across the ocean? That's because our money system is so old. And so what the blockchain does, again, uses this technology, takes, the trust out of it. We don't have to trust that somebody's going to, deliver the product. The technology makes sure that everybody settles on their side. But really, when you talk about democratizing assets, opening ownership and investing for all people, I just am really looking forward to seeing how this blockchain and tokenization really takes like real estate, finance, and even healthcare industries to the next level.
So let's take it to the story part of our outline here. Give an example, a real world example of how this will work,
Yeah,
internationally.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking, let's say internationally, they don't have the same access to financial institutions over there. Here in the U.S., they're giving debt out like it's hotcakes. Okay. All you got to do is find a property and bring it to them. But let's say over in Ghana, there's, let's call her Ama. She wants to start a farm, but she doesn't have access to those big banks to buy the lands, buy the equipment, and get set up.
Right.
And so if she doesn't have access to that large institution for the money, how does she start this farm?
Right.
Well, she can not only crowdfund using Karuti, let's say, but she can also offer slices of ownership of her farm to different people using this blockchain technology. And so for people, let's say over in countries that are still developing, they may not have the same systems that allow them to have a special purpose vehicle, own fractional shares in an asset, but they do have cell phones. And the cell phones have access to the mobile platforms that allow this kind of tokenization of the asset. And so really, I feel like we come from a place of privilege, Will, when we talk about ownership and democratizing investing. But in the US, we still have leaps and bounds more opportunity than people, across the world. And so just like you said, for people overseas, this is even more of an opportunity to really bring in that opportunity, the chance to invest in ownership in generational wealth, I guess.
So Alma's not alone, right? Like there's a bunch of people out there. So from real estate developers to clean tech company startups, community hospitals. Instead of them waiting on one big investor to show up, tokenization allows thousands of investors to micro invest and participate, right? Building wealth while funding real impact projects, right? And that's something that a lot of times in our community we have not had, right? We have not had this ability to be able to do that. And so this is really going to change things when it comes to being able to come in and say, look, I have this project. that is going to impact my community.
Yeah.
And here are the people in your community being able to invest in that. But better yet, there may be somebody, you may be in Atlanta, Georgia, and maybe somebody in the UK who sees your project and was like, man, I really like what you're doing with this project, right? I really appreciate, how you guys are democratizing healthcare, right? You built this structure that allows people to go in and quicker get the healthcare they need, or allows people to both get healthcare, but then also maybe some type of technology that provides some automation to help people assist. They may be over in another country, and through tokenization, they can go ahead and still invest in your project. And this is the part that a lot of people don't understand. The liquidity of tokenization is way quicker than the liquidity of a typical investment. Typically, I'll give you an example. If you invest in a company, say in their early stages, you're looking at anywhere from maybe 2 to 10 years before you can ever take that money out, right? But with tokenization, eventually after your holding period, which in the United States, investing in a startup is about a year, after that holding period, you can go ahead and immediately sell your share, your fractional share, to somebody else. So for example, let's say you invest $100 into this project that Alma has going on, the farmland, and Alma has been doing well for the last 2 years, or she's even doing well for the last year, and some other big investor wants to come in because he wants her to scale this model up faster. Well, then what you could do at that point is you could take your asset and say, you know what, I'm ready to go ahead and cash out after your year's holding period. Well, damn, you can easily do that. And the value may be 2 times or 1.5 times. And these are just all speculatory, but this is the way the tokenization would change assets in the real world. So it really is not just a way to put it on the blockchain or whatever it may be. It's a way for us to be able to invest and be able to see impact in our areas, and then get a return on our investment way quicker than the typical models, which are oftentimes controlled that way because you have people who are making money on interest. You have people who are making money on the fact that your asset, your money sitting there longer, which is interest. And then you have other factors of people who just, want to keep a barrier of entry for people, so they don't want them to have liquidity as quickly. Tokenization will allow people to be able to gain that liquidity a lot quicker.
And on that note, people also are running a Ponzi scheme, let's say, in other places. Yeah. And so again, what the blockchain allows you to do is have that transparency. Correct. You don't have to trust that the person you're investing in is doing the right thing with your money. Yeah. You invest, the blockchain smart contract takes care of it. Yep. There's the public ledger where you can see your money coming in, where the money's going out. Yep. And so it gives that extra layer of trust and security there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I wanted to say one more thing about the impact too, because when you mentioned, Alma going into her community, seeing the opportunities there, I feel like with ownership and investing, it's easy to focus on the profit or the actual ROI and what the investor makes back, but the community impact and the thing that doesn't necessarily have a percent or a number attached to it, it's real easy to overlook that value, which for me can be priceless whenever you're adding fresh food, to a food desert now, or you solving, a deep problem, in a certain community. And so, yes, people are making return and equity, increases on their projects, but also communities are getting the solutions that they need that may not be necessarily funded or even noticed by, government or other organizations who, we're relying on to take care of our communities.
Absolutely. I always tell people there's like 3 types of investors, right? And we at Karooti are going to end up hitting all 3 because we have those pieces. There's the investor who is kind of like the GoFundMe type person who says, look, I'm investing, but I really don't care about getting anything back. It's not a big deal to me. If I get something back, great. You know what I mean? It's awesome, right? But I just like this person's idea, whatever it may be. The second investor is going to be the one who's like, I'm investing because I'm a customer, right? I know this product, I know this area, and honestly, I'm going to end up using your product, right? So for that reason, I'm going to invest in you. And then the third type of investor is the ones who are looking for a return, right? They're literally looking for a return. They're saying, look, I love your idea, all that is great, right? I love your story, but I need to get a certain amount of return back. If I put $100 in over the course of, 2 or 3 years or a year, I want to try to see a 20% return back because that's what I need as far as my nut in order to continue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Well, Karooti will allow each one of those investors to hit those different points. And then to bring it back around to tokenization, we will be able to do this on an international level, right? So there will be projects that are essentially worldwide, but on a level or a chain that will allow you, or a situation that will allow you to be able to invest and still keep the stability of the currency. That's one of the other things, one of the other benefits of tokenization. If I'm investing in Ghana and the CD goes up and down, right, then I may be at risk of losing that investment, or just the transfer of money will cause issues, right? But with tokenization, and then you pegging it to a stable coin, my dollar will remain a dollar, right? As long as that US dollar is stable, then it'll remain stable as well. And then when I try to pull that money back out, I haven't lost a lot of money on Forex exchange or anything else like that. I get to pull my money back out really quickly. And I also they burn off that token, and then I get my money back in fiat in a bank account or a wallet partner, whatever it may be. So it really is going to be a game changer. It's not talk. We want everybody to continue to pay attention. We're going to be one of the first crowdfunding broker-dealer platforms to be able to allow you to do this. And so keep up with us each week as we bring in more information about how Karooti is return on investment and goodwill and generational impact.
Yes. Man, I get more excited every week about this. Okay.
Hey, thank you for all you guys over in TikTok land for joining us. I'm saying hi to you, all of you, or the ones that it allows me to say hi to. If you have any questions, right, this platform is for people who have ideas, but also for people who want to invest in impact-bearing companies, right? These are not charities. These are actual companies that are going to have impact on community and give you a return on investment over time. Please feel free to reach out to me on TikTok, on Instagram. You can also reach us at karooti.com. You can see examples. We'll be launching probably within the next 60 days. So you'll see examples of what we do. Please feel free to give any comments or suggestions, or if you have a project or an idea, we've started businesses before. We can help you walk through those as well, and what you need to do in order to qualify to put your project on a funding portal or crowdfunding portal like Karooti. So thank you guys. Appreciate you. Thank you, Asia, all the time.
Yes, sir.
Set these up. These are great. And we'll talk to you guys next week.
All right. See y'all.
See you.